Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Breakout Session 1 tonight. And tonight you've got myself, Mr. Courtney, who's the Assistant Principal who oversees Business and IT, and you've got Mr. Reid, who's the Faculty Director of those department areas. Tonight we're going to talk to you about the business courses and IT courses that are available to you if you join our wonderful sixth form at BA. So first of all, I'm going to talk you through about the business studies. But before we get started, at the top right-hand corner of the slide, you will notice that we've got a slido.com address. If you wish to ask any questions, there will be time at the end of the session. If you go to slido.com and input the number Q681, you'll be able to ask questions that Mr. Reid and myself, will be able to answer later on this evening. So please do pop those questions in. It's always great to have those responses coming through to us. So the first course I'm going to talk to you about is the Business Studies Cambridge Technical. This is a vocational qualification and it's designed to prepare you for higher education and employment. Within here, you will look at different skills and knowledge understanding that both universities and employers demand, and you'll only be able to do this practically through your assessments and also in examination conditions as well. So there's a two-prong attack to this one. It is a level 3 qualification. The first route that we have for this is the extended certificate. This is 360 guided learning hours, and that's the equivalent to 1 A-level. In this, you will have 5 units. 2 of these units are exam units, which is unit 1 and 2, the business environment and working in the business, and the other 3 units are coursework. Those units are completed over a 2-year period, and with the aim of that, we will sit both exams, unit 1 and unit 2, in the first year in order to give you time to retake if you need to improve on that grade. So you do have options to reset later on. The second route that we've got is if you really want to study business further and go into university with it, you can do what we call the diploma, and it looks more at marketing, and that is the equivalent of 2 A-levels. And it is double the size of the single, so therefore it's 10 units. The 5 units that you've done with the single award, plus other units such as marketing, doing a business project, looking at change management, and looking at marketing campaigns. You will have 3 exams and 7 units of coursework to complete for this part of the course. In order to take business studies at A-level or Cambridge Technical, we suggest that you would have a merit at level 2 in business studies and a Gcse English language and maths grade of 4 to 9. The reason we ask for that is that there are some numeracy elements in the course, so it's really important that you're able to deal with those, and also you'll be extended writing as well, so therefore having a good grasp of English language is really important. If you've not done GCSE business studies before, then that is not a problem as well. We have about 20% of our students who do not do business studies at Key Stage 4 and do so very well at it during Key Stage 5. So after you've done your Cambridge Technical in Business, whether that be the extended certificate or the diploma, there's different pathways for you. You could go to university or onto an apprenticeship, or you could even go into a career pathway related to business. And with business, there's such a wide range of pathways that are available to you. You can have a look at finance, looking at accounting, economics, marketing, human resources, whatever you find is most enjoyable for you, you can specialize in one of those areas by going down that career path. So in terms of what we will study, I'm going to talk you through a few of the sort of areas we look at. And one of the areas that we look at, first of all, is that understanding of what is a company, what is a charity, and what is a social enterprise. And on the screen, you will see there are many different variations of companies and businesses that are there. So we look at things like Primark and JD, businesses that you see on the high street. They, of course, are public limited companies, and their aim is to provide you with goods and services at a price. They want to make profit. They want to be successful. In comparison to that, we look at something like the NHS. That would be a public sector organization, and their aim is to provide you a service that is better for the whole country to have, and that's free of charge to you. We also look at things like the difference between a product and a service. So the 2 examples that are on the screen, you've got a bottle of Coke there. That would be a product that you would go to a shop to purchase. That is tangible, so you can physically see it and touch it and take it away with you. Where in the other one, we've got Uber, and of course that is offering you a service. They will take you places. And we also look at areas around the idea of entrepreneurship. Who might be the richest in here? Is it Bill Gates, who is the owner of Microsoft and founder, or Jeff Bezos of Amazon? And I know during this weekend, I'm sure his sales will skyrocket during the Black Friday sales. But we look at what their companies do, how they made their money, and what they then do with that with their sort of supply chains as well. I'm going to hand over now to Mr. Reid, who is going to talk you through the IT provision we offer here at Bexleyheath Academy 6th Form.
Good evening, everybody. So my name is Mr. Reid, and I'm going to be talking to you about the IT option that we have at Bexleyheath Academy today. So just like Sarah's been talking about the business studies course, we study the Cambridge Technicals in digital media. It's a vocational course, a level 3 course. You'll be able to practically apply your skills and knowledge in preparation for further study, whether you go on to university or whether you go into workplace. So they fully equip you for all the skills you need. So just to introduce you to our IT staff at Bexleyheath Academy, you have myself, Mr. Reid, the faculty director, you have Miss Hegarty, and you have Mr. Napier. The principal also teaches digital media. So just to give you a little bit of an introduction really about the overview of the course, like the business option, there are 2 routes that you can study for digital media and IT. The first route is the extended certificate, and this is equivalent to 1 A level. Now, to achieve this, you would complete 5 units of work, 2 exam units, so 2 externally set exams, and 3 of those components would be coursework units over the 1 or the 2 years that we study the course. So, for example, the first unit we look at media products and audiences, looking at digital media organisations and companies. We then look at pre-production and planning, so what goes into the production of products, whether you're making a website, whether you're making a social media app, and we also look at other options such as sound and advertising for this option here. And we also create sort of our own sound advert for a radio advert and advertising as well. For the second route, this will be if you would like to study IT in a lot more detail. So this will be the diploma. And because it's the diploma, this is equivalent to 2 A levels at level 3. And because of that, you would also study the 5 units, that I've just mentioned. But also you would study an extra 6 units in addition to that. So if you can look on the list there on the right-hand side, some of those I've just mentioned on the previous slide. But you've got additional units such as animation and comics. We've got a photography unit. We look at journalism. We look at social media and globalization, looking at how digital media affects us in the world. So this will be 3 exam units in total, including the 2 from the single option that I've just mentioned, and an additional 8 coursework units over the 1 or 2 years that you study the course. Entry requirements for the level 3 IT course. So what we would suggest is a merit at a level 2 in an IT related subject. So whether that might be that you've done an IT or a computer science GCSE, grade 4 and above, and also 4 and above in English language and maths. Other subjects that closely relate to the digital media topic would be media studies, business studies, graphics and photography. So if you haven't done IT or computer science, but you've got other subjects such as media studies or business, we would also consider you for the course and as these skills overlap. So where can information technology take you? So we have a lot of students go on to university to study IT related courses. Or you can go into the workplace for apprenticeships. Career pathways, for example, business managers, website designers, network managers, going into app design. And we've also had students going to university to study very specialist degrees, such as in the computer game industry and character design and all those sorts of related topics. Advertising and project management is also one of the big topics that we also cover. So they provide a lot of these skills if you want to go into any of these types of career paths. So what will you study? So as an overall, to give you an overview, we look at social media, and that is one of the examination units that we do. We're creating new interactive products. So most of our units are based around designing a product of some kind. So like I mentioned, the sound, for example, for the radio, we might look at comics or just an interactive product that can go online for people to interact with for an educational purpose, for entertainment purposes, and looking at animations, for example. So in every unit we do, we'll be focused around a particular project, around a specific digital product that we will create. So just to give you some idea, I've got a few activities that I will introduce that to do with the types of activities that we would do in lessons. And I've tried to take a few from different units. So to introduce the social media unit for the exam topic, we looked at actually what do we already know about social media, and the assumption is that we all use social media in this day and age, and people know how to use it, but it's getting you thinking a bit more analytical about it. So, for example, we started off by listing our social media apps that we use. How often do we use it? Because then we go to look at the positive and negative effects of social media and its influence on individuals and on society and on the world. Why do we use social media? So we look at reasons why do people use it, and obviously celebrities might use it differently from a business, and they would also use it differently from people like us as an individual. Then we will look at different celebrities. How do they use the app, and is it always appropriate in terms of how they use social media? Do they use it for positive reasons? We look at sometimes how it creates a negative publicity around a celebrity or around an issue, and how social media can exemplify everything that's going on around us. And we look at that in a bit more detail and analyze how social media is used in different contexts. So pre-production documents, one of the units is about actually if we're making products for different purposes, what do we need to do beforehand in order to ensure that the product is fit for purpose and it's going to be successful? And one of the ways we do that, so this is an example of a pre-production document of a storyboard. We would look at the purpose of a storyboard. Why is a storyboard created in the first place? Who does it help? So for example, does it help the camera people? Why does it help our camera people? How does it show them what needs to be filmed or produced in a specific order or a specific way? And we would look at items that are included on a storyboard, because then that way you go ahead and design your own storyboards and ensuring that it has all the content it needs and it is fit for purpose for the product that you will make. So another example, we look at one of the units is focused on comics, and we look at the design and layout of comics. Now, this is a scene from a Marvel comic, and one of the questions that we put towards for the students is actually the panel design and the panel layouts. So we look at some panels, and actually some comics use very large panels, very small panels, and layouts are always very different. But why? What effect do the panels have on the reader, and how does it help the flow of the story? So for example, the fight scene would include very small panels, because what small panels do is speed up the pace of a comic and create suspense and excitement, whereas if you was using very large panels, it would slow down the pace and bring together. It might be at the start of a story, for example, to introduce the story and the setting and the characters, and obviously be a slower pace. And also looking at character design. So with comics, if you're designing an interactive product, we look at building character designs. If we're making a story of some kind, how do we develop a character? How do we do this in a range of contexts? So one of the key things we look at are actually how do we define a character in terms of their physical and their non-physical characteristics. So looking at actually a physical characteristic is something you can see, whether it's a costume, whether it's a hairstyle, whether it's something that makes that character unique in terms of the way they look. But then also looking at the non-physical characteristics could be, for example, superpowers, something that we can't see, something that makes that character who they are in terms of their personality, or something attributes that they have that are not overtly physically seen. And that's one of the other areas we look at.
Thank you, Mr. Reid, for that introduction to IT. And what's been great to see is I've had a few comments come through tonight regarding through Slido.com. So I've got one for you, sir, which is just saying, which do you feel would be the better course to study, the diploma or the extended certificates?
So the extended certificate is a single option where it's equivalent to one A level. It would obviously limit your choices in terms of you wouldn't have as much choice to choose other subjects, because if you choose the diploma, it takes up 2 of your option choices. So what I would suggest, if you're really interested in IT and you really like the sound of the course, go for the double. And the same for the business, really, isn't it? So obviously the diploma covers 2 of your subject areas. So if you're really interested in a business topic or an IT topic, go for it. But that also means you can't have as many varied subjects if you wanted to do other subjects in the school.
And I think that's true. I think if you have that sort of real passion for the subject and you feel that's what you maybe a career path you want to go down, the diploma in the business or in the IT works really well because it gives you that additional knowledge that you may not get from just doing the single award. It also gives you that variety as well. And in terms of the grades, I know that both departments perform extremely well when it comes to grades. With in the extended certificate, the majority of students will leave with a distinction or distinction star, and in the diploma, they'll end up with double distinctions or above. So the grades that both subjects get are really, really strong as well. And another question has come through, which I will answer in terms of, do you need to do business studies at Gcse to do business studies at Cambridge Technical? The answer is no. And I think it's really important that actually, you know, if you've never tried it, you choose it as a subject and give it a go, because actually it's really enjoyable. A lot of it can be common sense that you see happening in the world around you, and therefore having that knowledge is really important. And what I would say is thank you so much for listening. And if you want any more details, you can just come and speak to myself or Mr. Reid throughout the time at the Academy. That's everything for Breakout Session 1. Breakout Session 2 will start in 4 minutes' time. So please do make your way to your next breakout room when you're ready. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Breakout session number 2 this evening, which is all about your business and IT here options that you have at Bexleyheath Academy sixth form. It is great to have so many of you online this evening with this information. Now, as we go through this, there is an opportunity for you to ask questions. You'll be able to access the slido.com. On the top right-hand corner of the screen, you will see that actually you've got a slido.com address there, and when you go on to that, you can type in Q681 and you'll be able to ask myself or Mr. Reid some questions based on the knowledge that we have for business or IT. Please do feel free just to pop those questions in at any time, and towards the end of the session, we will come back to answer any of those questions for you. So first of all, I'm going to talk you through business studies. So my name is Mr. Courtney, and I oversee the business and IT department. And we've got Mr. Reid, who is the faculty director for business and IT. And we'll be here to talk through those options of choice that you've got at sixth form. So first of all, why do business studies? Well, business studies has been developed to help meet the changing needs of the sector and prepare you for the challenge that you'll face in higher education or in employment. You've got to remember that business covers a lot of key areas, and a lot of it is down to common sense and things you will know about already without even studying the topic. But it's really enjoyable to actually be able to go, yes, I understand why businesses do that and understand why businesses operate how they do. In terms of the pathways for business, you've got 2 different pathways. Route 1 is the extended certificate. This is the equivalent to 1 A-level, and you will have 4 lessons per week. The units that you cover are very generic business units that give you a good, broad understanding of business as a whole. The first unit we will look at would be the business environment. So it covers everything from aims and objectives right through to market research and different functional areas, on through to understanding what sort of external factors might impact the business. And then we've got other units such as customers and communication and market research. Within the extended certificate, you will have 5 units to complete. 2 of these will be exam units and 3 of them will be portfolio/coursework units. The great thing about these is you will sit the exams unit 1 and unit 2 in year 12. That means that if you wish to retake that exam, you have one other chance in year 13 to do so for either of the units, giving you that better opportunity to push those grades even higher than what you had got the first time around. The second option you've got for yourself is to go through the diploma route, which is a double award qualification, the equivalent to 2 A-levels. The great thing about this is it is much more focused on marketing. So if marketing is something that you're interested in doing, therefore you have more of a chance to go into this in a little bit more detail. You will have studied the exact same 5 units that were studied in the single award, but you'll also now do things such as looking at marketing strategies and campaigns, and also then delivering a business project where you put all of your knowledge together from all of the previous 9 units to make a business project viable. And you will follow that project right the way through to actually doing a project. So it's really exciting as you get towards the end that you get to pull all that information together. In terms of entry requirements, we had asked that you have a level 2 in business if you've taken a business at Key Stage 4, and you'll also need 4 and above in English language and mathematics. And if you are not doing business studies, but you do IT or media, then we would be happy to accept a merit in those subjects as well. It is really important that you don't just say, oh, I can't do business because I haven't done it before. We have about 20% of our students in the class who start having no knowledge of business studies, and they do really well by the end of it. So please do bear that in mind. In terms of where can business studies take you, it can take you to the post-18 pathways of an apprenticeship or university, but it can also lead you into a career path once you've finished school. So it might be that you want to go into finance or human resources, operations, or even economics. There's a wide pathway for those people who study business studies, and the skills that you get from studying a subject like business open up many other pathways to your jobs as well. So some of the content are things that we would cover. So in Unit 1, for example, we would look at different types of ownership of business structures. So we look at things like private ownership, which are things like your Primark and your JD and your Tesco. They want to make sure that they are set up to make a profit, and that's what their main aims are. They've got to please their shareholders to make sure that actually they're getting a return on their money and their investment. You then have other businesses, such as social enterprises, where they are donating money to a special cause. So you might think along the lines of Bexley Council, or talking about a charity shop. They're all there to sort of help good causes in that area. We'll also look at the difference between products and services and understanding the main difference between the two. Some businesses will offer a product and some businesses will offer a service, and some businesses will actually offer a product and a service. Because when you go to a shop and you buy a bottle of Coke, they will give you your product. You've paid the money for that product, and that will be the bottle of Coke to take away. If you order an Uber, they will give you a service of taking you from A to B. But if you go to a restaurant, you expect good service in terms of them bringing you the food and being polite and respectful, but they will also provide you with the food as well, which becomes your product. So understanding that businesses operate in different ways and offer different services and products is really important when looking at business. And we'll also look at things like entrepreneurship. We've got 4 very famous entrepreneurs on the screen. Jeff Bezos, who runs and owns Amazon. Larry Page, which owns Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google. Michael Bloomberg, who does financial software tools. And of course, Bill Gates, who owned Microsoft. So it's really important that we understand how they became famous, how they started their business off, what skills do they have that make them successful. And as part of our project management, we need to understand what skills are successful for managers in that area. That is everything we've got for business. Can I please just remind you that you can send us in more questions on slido.com using Q681 to access that for business studies. I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Reid, who will talk you through the IT courses.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Mr. Reid. I'm talking to you about the IT course that we have at Bexleyheath Academy. So just like business, we have a Cambridge Technicals in Digital Media, and it's designed in collaboration with experts spanning the breadth of the sector. So digital media focuses on the skills, knowledge, and understanding that universities' employers demand in today's world. During this course, you will practically apply your skills and knowledge in preparation for further study at university or college or in the workplace. If we could just have the slide, that's it. Thank you. So just to introduce you to our team here at the Bexleyheath Academy, we've got my name is Mr. Reid, the faculty director. We have Miss Hegarty and Mr. Napier, who comprise the IT department currently. So just to give you an overview for the course, is the Cambridge Technicals Level 3, and just like Mr. Courtney was saying about the business studies, we have 2 routes also. Route 1 would be the extended certificate, and this is equivalent to 1 A level, and you will study 5 units during your time of studying this course. 2 of those units will be examination units, where they will be externally sat and written papers that you will do. The other 3 units will be coursework-based units, where you produce work during lessons to put together into a portfolio. Now, if you look at the list there on the right-hand side, you've got a list of units that we cover for the 1 A level option. We've got the examination units, which are media products and audiences, and pre-production and planning. So we learn about different companies, different digital media organizations, and about how we plan digital products. How do we create digital products, and the planning that goes into creating a successful product for a specific purpose, whether that be to educate or to entertain, and so on. We will also create a media product on one of the units, and the other 2 units are quite specialists in terms of one of them looks at sound and developing a radio advert for a company, and the other one looks at the advertising media. And then what I'm going to talk to you about is the 2 A level option, which is the diploma. So if IT is something you're really passionate about, or digital media and in designing, and you're very creative, I would suggest the diploma would be a fantastic option for you to study. Both courses are quite successful at the school and very popular. Now, if you look at the list on the right hand side there, we've got some additional units to the ones I've just explained to you. So this is because you study more units, because this will be equivalent to 2 A levels. So you'll be studying 11 units in total. 3 of these will be exam units, and the other 8 will be coursework based portfolio units. Now, you can probably see from that list, there are a range of different topics. Each unit specializes in something particular. So, for example, we have a unit based on social media and globalization, another unit that focuses on journalism and news. And then we've got photography, we've got a unit on comics and graphic novels, digital animation. And these are all obviously very different from each other, but allow people to take different options for their for the different units. There are a wide range of units to choose from also. So there are other options available. And if it's something that someone really wants to do or a class would really like to do, it's very flexible in the way that we can actually take on additional units if we need to, and replace other ones that are not so, that people don't want to study so much. So there's that option there as well. So in terms of entry requirements, we would look for a merit in a level 2 IT based course. So this could be a level 2 BTEC in IT. It could be a GCSE in computer science, which would be a 4 and above we'd be looking for, and as well as a 4 and above in English and maths. However, if you've not studied IT at level 2 or computer science, we would still be looking for similar subjects that you would thrive in order to do these subjects, such as media studies, business, photography, or graphics. So any of these subjects, we would consider you to take on the IT course. It wouldn't be a problem at all. Where can information technology take you? Well, if you study this course, in terms of post-18 pathways, students studying IT mostly commonly progress onto university or an apprenticeship. Some people have studied very specific courses at university, so not just an IT course, but it could be something in cybersecurity, or it could be in game design. And we have had students go on to do those sorts of courses that are very specialised. In terms of career pathways, you'd be looking at those that I've listed there on the screen. So business managers, website designers, a graphic designer, or going into app design. And like I said, going into the computer game industry. And there's lots of different roles you can take within these industries. Advertising as well, and also project management, because we cover aspects of these in many of the units that we deliver across the course. So what will you study overall? Overall, you study who owns the media, what types of businesses own the media and in the world we live in today, social media and how it affects our daily lives, how it affects individuals, why do we use it, and globalization, looking at the links between those two. Every unit, like I said, will be creating a new product generally. So whether that's a sound-based project, whether that's a paper-based product like a comic, for example, it could be a multimedia product where people can interact with it, or an advert to go with the advertising industry. So we cover each unit you do will specialize in a specific product that we will go and be creative and plan. We produce it and we test it out, and we go through the stage of the production process. So just a few activities for you. So just based on some of the units that we do in lessons, I've put together this one. This was one to introduce social media and globalization, and to try to think about why people use social media and what are the reasons people use it. So we're looking at what social media apps do we use on a daily basis. So we've got students to identify a list of those. How often do you use it? So looking at what impact it has on our daily life. Are we always on social media? Is it very, very addictive? Or is it something that we use quite sparsely? Or what platforms do we use? And then going into a little bit of analysis about why do celebrities use the social media? Because obviously people use social media for different reasons. So celebrities might use it for promotion. You've got businesses and organizations that promote their products as well. But then why do we use it as individuals? Is it to communicate with friends and family, for example? And we look at the reasons why and how this might impact the creation of social media and the influence of social media. Another one to give you was to look at pre-production documents, and this was taken from one of the exam-based units. So looking at a storyboard, how a storyboard contributes to the planning of a successful product. So we would look at what does a client want from their product? And if it was a comic or a short video of some kind, a storyboard would often be used to show the plan of this product and how it would be successful and how it meets their needs, really. So we would look at the purpose of a storyboard, what content needs to be included on a storyboard, for example, camera shots and camera angles. We would look at the different types of how the purpose of it. So what is the point of a storyboard? Does it show how scenes flow into one another and how this might help the camera crew, for example, identify what shots to do and the length of time for each shot? And we look at the reasons why they're used in the production process. Another example would be for comics. So one of the units we study is a comic and graphic novels. We would look at the design and layout of comics, because eventually you would go and make your own comic. So we would look at the style of panels, for example, as one activity. What effect do short panels have in a comic, and what effect do larger panels have? And why does it vary from comic to comic? So, for example, in the one you can see there's a Marvel fight scene, and we would look at why is that design used very short panels and in that way to in a fight scene. And the reason was because in smaller panels are used to speed up the story process, the pace of the comic as you read it. And what effect does this have on the story? Well, it's a fight scene, so it's very quick, it's very fast paced, and obviously the reader builds suspense, and it shows like an action scene in action. And that's the sort of things we would discuss and talk about in terms of the layout and design of comics, because then you would need to apply this when you create your own. Another aspect we would look at is character design. So depending on what type of product you're making for any of the units on the course, some aspect would probably relate to some kind of character in the product, or in a story that you've developed for that product. And for example, we would look at, one of the major things we look at is there's two sides of building characters. There is the physical side, the physical features of a character, and the non-physical features or characteristics of the character. So for example, the one you can see there is a superhero. Physically, how would you describe this character? And this all contributes to how you might develop that character in the story. So for example, something obvious in terms of how they look and how you would describe that person in terms of a costume, a facial expression or feature, or a hairstyle, that would be a physical characteristic. And then when you look at non-physical characteristics, you might look at things like superpowers for a superhero. Can he fly, for example? Is he strong? You might also look at other non-physical aspects that relate to a personality type. So what makes the character the character that they are, and how is that shown in the product? So for example, is someone very kind? Are they very determined? Are they angry a lot of the time? So there's all those things that come into play when we look at character development. And that's it from me.
Thank you, Mr. Reid. And I've got two questions that have come in during that time while you've been delivering this. The first question is, what GCSE grades do I need to get in order to do the ICT diploma?
So the IIT diploma is the 2A level option. So the grades would be a 4 and above, or a level 2 merit really in a vocational subject that's IT related. So that could be an IT, it could be a digital information technology BTEC, for example. It could be a media studies vocational course, or something very business orientated. We would consider many of those subjects as we cover a lot of those aspects in our course anyway. So if you've not done an IT or computer science, I wouldn't worry.
Thank you, sir. And just one other question is, if you pass in media studies, would you be able to do IT for A-level?
If you've passed media studies, yes, you can. So you could do the IT, whether that be the extended certificate or diploma. Yes, that would be perfect. A lot of those skills are transferable as well.
Thank you, Mr. Reid, for everything you've done there. That is the end of our session this evening, and we will have our breakout session 3 starting next. So thank you, everyone, for taking time to listen. Good evening and welcome to the third of your breakout sessions this evening. Welcome to the Business and IT faculty. My name is Mr. Courtney. I'm the assistant principal that oversees the areas, and we've also got with me tonight Mr. Reid, who is the faculty director for Business and IT. It is great to see you here tonight to go through what these courses actually mean and to give you those options for your pathways moving into the sixth form. So let's start straight away. So what is business studies and why look at business studies? So business studies Cambridge Technical is a vocational qualification that has been developed to meet the changing needs of the sector and prepare you for the challenge you will face in higher education. All you've got to do is think about what you have seen around you in the past 18 months to 2 years and how businesses have changed, the way they adapt and how they actually now operate has changed dramatically over that time period. A lot of the content that we cover in business is content that actually you will know without really knowing you know it. I think that's really important. I think it's really nice to be able to understand the subject and know why things are happening to sort of put it into context. The design of the curriculum is there to allow you to have a practical element as well having a knowledge element through your assessments. And it gives you a really good breadth of knowledge across the sector. So in terms of the overview, if you're interested in doing business, you've got two different pathways you can choose. You can choose the extended certificate, which is the equivalent of 1 A-level. That means you will have 4 lessons a fortnight, and in that time, you will study 5 units over the course of 2 years. Units 1 and 2, which is the business environment and working in a business, are both examined units, while the other 3 units are coursework and portfolio units. So therefore, you'll produce work to your portfolio that will help you achieve your overall grades. And it's really good to see that actually having these sort of qualifications or vocational, you get a good mix of, if you like exams, you've got some exams. If you like coursework and be able to tick things off as you work through it, then you also have that option. Units 1 and 2 will both be sat in the first year in year 12. That gives you the opportunity, if you need to retake your exam in year 13, if you wish to push that grade even further to achieve remarkable things. The second pathway that you've got an option to do if you're interested in business is that of marketing. Now, this is the diploma. This is the equivalent of 2 A-levels and has more of a focus on the marketing side of business. So whether you're interested in how marketing works, looking at campaigns, looking at what a strategy for marketing is, that's the sort of content we will look at in Unit 6 and Unit 7, which are both portfolio units. You will also have a unit at the very end of the year 13, which is about delivering a business project. And you take together all of the knowledge that you've learned and you put it together to actually make a business project viable. So in this context, you will have 3 units which are exam-based and 7 units which are coursework-based. And again, those exam units are sat in year 12, giving you the opportunity to retake in year 13 if needed. So in terms of what you need to do in order to get into this subject, you will need to have at least a merit in level 2 business studies or into a similar qualification. So if you're coming from another academy or college, then you would need to have a 4 above in business studies or something similar. We also ask that you have a 4 and above in English language and maths, and that's because you'll be expected to be able to write in long response answers, and you'll need to be able to have some numerical knowledge to be able to complete the formulas. Do not worry, all formulas are provided and they're easy enough to use. We're not asking you to do any trigonometry. It is basic skills that are needed. Subjects that work really well with business would be IT and media, and we've got lots of students who take a combination of those subjects when they come to us. So where can you go next then after business studies? So you can have your post-18 pathways, such as in the university or apprenticeship, and they open lots of pathways. So people will take business studies as an option to actually give them greater skills and a bit more of a wider step into university. Or you could end up in a career pathway into business, such as looking at finance, management, investment banking, marketing, or human resources, or any of the other ones that are listed there. It gives you the skills that allow you to set yourself up for many different pathways. One thing I forgot to mention at the very start was, if you wish to ask us any questions, please do sign into slido.com and use the number Q681, which will allow you to send questions to myself and Mr. Reid, who will be happy to answer those at the end of the presentation. So some of the elements that we will look at studying are things like, what are the ownerships of businesses? How do businesses differ in terms of their size? So we've got quite a few different types. You've got that private business, which are owned by individuals, and their aim is to make a profit. They want to please their shareholders, and that's what their aim is. So things like your JD, your Primark, your Tesco, that is their range. That's what they want to do. And on the opposite of that, you've got what we call a public business, and that is owned by the government. So things like the NHS, owned by the government to provide us a service which helps everyone in the country. And they're really important to understand that they're both really important, but for very different reasons. We'll also look at the difference between a product and a service. And in some cases, businesses might only do one. In some cases, they might do two. So for example, if you go to a shop and you buy a bottle of Coke, you will be given a product. That is something tangible that you can take away with you. Whereas if you ask for an Uber, that provides you a service that take you from A to B. Whereas if you go to a restaurant, you will end up with both. They will give you the service that you would expect. So they will serve you on time, they'll be polite, they'll bring you the right food. That's the service you would expect, and you will tip for that if you think the service is good. And the product you will get will be the food that is brought to your table. So some businesses will offer both product and services. We will also look at entrepreneurship. So we'll look at some of these four famous entrepreneurs. You've got Jeff Bezos, who is the owner of Amazon, Larry Page, who owns Alphabet, who's also the parent company of Google, Michael Bloomberg, who is financial software tools, and you might see the Bloomberg News channel if you have Sky, and you've got Bill Gates as well, who owns Microsoft. What was really important is we understand how they started off, what skills they've got, and how they've got to where they are now. Because that tells us what you need to have to be a successful businessman. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Mr. Reid, who's going to talk you through the IT that we offer at Cambridge Technical. Over to you, sir.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So I'm going to speak to you about the Cambridge Technicals that we offer for IT. So for the level 3 Cambridge Technicals, we run the digital media option as our IT course at the school. And you will practically apply your skills and knowledge in preparation for further study or the workplace. So recognise qualifications that will allow you to go on to university or apprenticeships or the workplace. Just to introduce you to our team, the IT department, we have myself, Mr. Reid, we have Ms. Hegarty, and we have Mr. Napier, all teaching the qualification currently. So I'm going to introduce you to give you an overview. We have two routes and two options for the course. The route 1 will be the extended certificate, and this is equivalent to 1 A-level. What you will do if you study the 1 A-level option is you will do 5 units of work. 2 of those will be examination units set externally by the exam board as written papers, and the other 3 units will be coursework based options. So they will be work that you do in lessons that contribute to a portfolio of work. Now, looking at that list on the right hand side there, we've got the media products and audiences and pre-production and planning. There are examination units, and obviously the more creative options that we have where you get to design products will be these options here. So to create a new media product as one option. We look at sound, so we look at designing a radio advert, and we look at advertising media where we do an advert for a new set of headphones. And if we go into route 2, you will study those options that I've just mentioned, but you would do an additional 6 units. So in total, you will study 11 units. Now, 3 of those will be exam units, so the 2 that I've mentioned previously, plus the extra option of the social media and globalization unit. And 8 of the units, will be coursework options. So you can look at the list there. There's extra units that we've added on there. So as you can see, each unit that we study is very specialized in terms of the topic, and is very project based around that topic. So if you look, for example, we have a journalism and the news industry unit, but we also have something that's like a photography where we look at photo editing and using Photopea to edit photographs. And then we've got comics, animation, and then you would also study the other previous ones I've mentioned, like sound and advertising, in addition to those. Now, in terms of the entry requirements, what we would hope for is a merit at a level 2 vocational course, and that be an IT related. So whether that be a BTEC in digital information technology or an iMedia course, it could be something vocational related, such a media studies vocational option, or a graphics course. If you studied computer science GCSE, we would be looking for a grade 4 and above, likewise in English language and maths. And you've also got other complementary subjects. So if you haven't studied IT or computer science specifically, we would be looking at what subjects you have got. So if you've studied a media studies and you've got the grade there, or the business, graphics, photography, any of those that sort of interrelate with what we've done in terms of the projects I've just spoken about, that would also be sufficient enough to get onto the course. So where can information technology take you? In terms of post-18 pathways, students studying IT most commonly go on to university or an apprenticeship. Now, it could be just an IT degree that they studied, or somewhere in the workplace. We've had students go on to study very specialised IT degrees. So, for example, a few in the computer game industry. You might also look at careers as business management, website design, app design, and also other areas like project management, which are incorporated in many of the units that we study. So many of these options you'd be able to transfer the skills from the work we do on the digital media qualification. So what will you study overall? So we will look at who owns the media. We will look at different companies and organizations. How are these owned? How do they make these products so successful, and how do they target specific audiences? We will look at the role that social media plays in the form of globalization in the world, and what effect it has on us as individuals. Many of the units are very specific in terms of creating a new product for a specific client or a specific purpose. And like I mentioned earlier, the advert for the headphones, we look at the radio advert, we look at an animation, we design a comic for children. So there's different units that specialize in different products, and we will look at a range of those. So just to give you some activities to give you a taster really of what they do in lessons. So this term we started the social media topic, and to get people thinking about social media in a more analytical way, we got the students to first identify what social media apps you use, then actually to think about how often do you use it, what effect does it have on you, does it have mostly positive impact on you or a negative impact, and what can some of those be. Why do you use social media? Why do you use these platforms? So, for example, us as individuals might use them to communicate or talk with friends and family. However, businesses or companies might use social media in a totally different way, whether it's to promote their product or create awareness about an issue. Celebrities, we analyse a little bit about how celebrities have so much influence on social media and how they influence us, and what are the reasons they post specific things online for, and how that works. Just to get people thinking about different types of social media. The next one I've shown you there on the slides is all about pre-production planning. So whenever we design a product to be made, it needs to be planned in some form or another. So, for example, one would be a storyboard. We would look at the purpose of a storyboard and what is included, what content is there on a storyboard. So we would look at what actual purpose does it serve in this production process. And obviously, these are the documents you use before you produce a final product. So, for example, on a storyboard, you would have camera shots, camera angles, you would have instructions, you'd have scene numbers. All of those different items help people in the production of a product, whether it be a commercial, whether it be a comic or a film. And we would look at how does this storyboard help in that production process. And we'd also look at other pre-production documents such as mind maps, mood boards, all the different things that might appeal to different types of products. The next one I've got is a comic. So we would look at panel design and layout in a comic specifically. That'd be one of the things we would target and look at. We would be analysing what effect does the design of the comic have on the reader? How does it impact the story? How does it make the story more effective when you read that comic? So one of the questions that was put forward to the students was, why does the fight scene from Marvel used small panels, because it could have used a couple of panels on that page. It could have used a range of different sized panels, but it doesn't. So what is the reason for them using small panels in a fight scene, for example? And the reason would be because smaller panels fasten up the pace of the story. They create more action and suspense. And it is an action scene. It is a fight scene. Whereas if they had used larger panels, it would have slowed down the pace of the story. So larger panels would often be used at the start of a story, possibly to introduce a setting or a location, or introduce new characters. And that would be the discussion we would have around the design and layout of comics. And then what you would do is you would go and apply this knowledge by creating your own comic, purely to ensure that actually your comic is successful and designed in an appropriate way. Now, character design. Character design is the last one I was going to talk about. Whatever product you make, you possibly might have a character in that, whether that be a comic, whether it be an interactive product to educate children or to educate teenagers. You might have characters in a product. Now, when you think of character development and design, there are two main issues that we look at. So we look at the physical characteristics of a character and the non-physical characteristics. Now, the physical is something that is obvious and that can be seen, whether that be a person's hairstyle, their eye color, their costume, their heights, their build. All of those items relate to a physical characteristic of that character. And these are the things you would need to think about when planning your character and your product. However, the non-physical characteristics are slightly more subtle. So they might be someone's personality traits, whether someone's angry a lot of the time, or fearful, or quite a strong, brave character. But it also might mean a superpower for a superhero. For example, Superman can fly, and it's a non-physical trait that he has. That brings me to the end of the session. Thank you, Mr. Courtney.
Thank you, Mr. Reid. And we've had one question come through just asking about how successful are your courses in terms of outcomes for students?
We're very, very popular. So the digital media and business, likewise, are very popular courses in the school. We get a high number of distinction students. And if you do the double qualification, the diploma, a lot of students walk away with double distinction grades, so DD grades. So we're very, very successful, very popular as well. And students seem to really enjoy the course. And I think that's part of it. So I think where they get so passionate about it is there's a lot of variety in the courses that we run. And a lot of students really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think, thank you, sir, for that. I think when we talk about how popular it is, I know we've got 2 Year 12 classes currently for digital media, and we've got 3 Year 12 classes for business, because that's how popular the subject is. It's popular from a lot of students' point of view, and they do really well with those distinction grades and above, both in the single and in the double award. For the majority of students. So if you have any more questions, please do feel free to pop them on the slido.com or come and speak to myself or Mr. Reid anytime during the Academy day. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening. Good evening and welcome to Breakout Session 4, which is now your final breakout session of the night. Tonight in this breakout session, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the business and digital media faculty that we offer and the courses we offer here in the Academy at Sixth Form. I'm Mr. Courtney and it's nice to meet with you all. I'm here to talk about the business studies side of things, and we've got Mr. Reid with us who's here to talk about the IT courses that we offer. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to go to slido.com where you'll be able to enter Q681 and you'll be able to send us questions that you would like us to answer, and we will answer those questions at the end of our presentation. So please do feel free to hop on to slido.com and communicate with us on how we can answer anything to make sure you understand everything about the courses we have to offer here within the faculty. So business studies, first of all. So business studies has been developed to try and meet the changing needs of the sector and prepare you for the challenges that you'll face either in higher education or in employment. And all you've got to do is think about what changes you have seen taking place in the business industries across the past 2 years with the pandemic. You will see that businesses have changed and they've operated in different ways, and that they're actually adapting the way they do things. And that's really important because what we can see in business is actually happening all around us. And when we think about the content that we study, a lot of that content is things you'll be thinking about, why is that happening? And this will add a bit of context as to the reasons why businesses do certain things. So what's really important is this course is a vocational qualification that will prepare you for whatever whatever pathway you want to follow after your Gcse courses. So we have two different pathways to offer in business studies. Pathway 1 is the extended certificate, which is the equivalent to 1 A-level. That is 5 units, 2 of which are in examined units and 3 which are portfolio-based coursework. The 2 exam units, business environment and working in a business, allow you to get the general understanding of what business is and that generic basic information that you need to be able to understand all the other units. Those 2 exams take place in year 12. That allows you an opportunity to retake an exam if you so wish to, and if you want to then improve that grade to push yourself even further to achieve the remarkable things that our students do here at the Academy. The other 3 units, your customers and communication, market research and principal project management, are all portfolio based, and they come with lots of different skills in there. So for example, in the customers communication, you will have to deliver a presentation, and in the market research, you will carry out some primary and secondary research based on a scenario, and you will gather that information to make decisions about what you will do next. The second pathway we've got is the diploma, which is the equivalent of 2 A-levels. So for this, you will have 8 lessons a week, whereas with the extended certificate, you will have 4 lessons a week. This looks at 3 exam units and 7 coursework units, but has much more of a focus on marketing as a function within business. So what this does now allows you to look at things like marketing strategies and marketing campaigns, including coming up with your own marketing campaign for a product. And what was great about business studies is at the end of the year 13, you do your final unit, which is delivering a business project, and you put all that knowledge that you have built and gathered together to allow you to move forward and to actually develop your own business idea. So it's really good to sort of finish off with everything that you've done and tie it all together. When we talk about requirements to get into the course, we would expect a level 2 merit in business studies or other vocational subjects that are similar, including a 4 and above in English and maths as well. The reason we ask for English and maths is that in English, we will be expecting you to have some long answered written answers, so therefore be able to write effectively is really important. And maths, there are some basic formulas that need to be used to calculate certain areas. Complementary subjects, so if you want to study business studies, you could also take IT and media. They work really well with it, but we've got students who study business studies and have a wide range of subjects, including things like A-level maths, history, sociology, geography. So it's a subject that works really well with lots of other different subjects that we offer here at BA. Where can it take you then? So your post-18 pathways, it could take you up to the idea of going to university. And it doesn't mean you have to study business at university. What it means is that it actually opens pathways to allow you to get to university. And it is accepted by all universities. And it also has the idea of you might want to go into an apprenticeship as well. And again, this would help you do that. Once it comes to post 18, it might be actually you decide, I want to go into a career pathway that is into business. That might be accounting, finance, marketing, human resources, whatever it might be within the industries. You'll be able to have a bit of knowledge about how businesses operate. And all that knowledge gives you that bit more support. So in terms of what we study, in Unit 1, we will study content around things like business ownership. So understanding that businesses come in different forms, different shapes, different sizes, and the reasons why they do is really important. So we look at things like private businesses, which are your Primark, your JD, your Tesco. They are owned by individuals and their aim is to make a profit. They will sell you lots of goods and services, but overall they want to make as big a profit as possible. In comparison to that, you'll have things which are called a public business, which are owned by the government. So things like the NHS and Bexleyheath Council, they are there to provide you with services. And they do that free of charge by collecting taxation from adults. So it's really important that we understand what all these different businesses actually want to achieve and how they go about doing that. Secondly, in Unit 1, we'd also look at things like different between product and service, and this becomes really important when it comes to Unit 4, when we're thinking about what does people want when they go to a hotel or to a resort, and it's about having that mixture of product and service. If you want to go into a shop, they will give you the product that you buy, you will hand them money over for that product and you take that product home with you. That is a tangible item. If you go to Uber, for example, they will give you a service. You pay them for the fare. But if you go into a restaurant, you might actually end up paying for both a product and a service. You will pay the product, which is your meal that you receive, but you'll also have a service. And part of that cost within there will be a cost for the service of actually having someone bring the food to you, present it in a nice way, but also you might pay additional for your service through the form of a tip. And the other area that we will look at is entrepreneurship, and especially in Unit 16, understanding how successful business people become successful, what are their key skills, what drives them to become successful. And on the screen you will see we've got a couple of examples there. We've got Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Larry Page, who owns Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, Michael Bloomberg, who does financial services, and Bill Gates in Microsoft. So understanding how people are successful is really important. I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Reid, and Mr. Reid will talk you through the IT courses that we offer here at BES Sixth Form.
Hello and good evening, everybody. So I'm here to talk to you about the IT option that we have at school. So just to start with, we offer the Cambridge Technicals in Level 3 Digital Media. What that does is it's a recognised qualification that will allow you to go on to university or apprenticeships or the workplace. So they recognise the skills offered through these qualifications. Hopefully, so I can just change the slide for me. Thank you. So yeah, as I said, these skills and knowledge can prepare you for further study. So, introduce you to the IT team at the school. We have myself, Mr. Reid, Miss Hegarty, and Mr. Napier as all part of the IT department, and all teach digital media. We have in terms of an overview for the qualification, we have 2 routes that you can take. Now, the first route is the extended certificate, and this is equivalent to 1 A-level. So if you study this option, you will study 5 units in total. 2 of those will be examination units, externally set by the exam board, and written papers. However, the other 3 topics you study will be coursework-based units where you produce working lessons to put together in a portfolio of evidence. And most of those you can see on the right-hand side there. So the 2 exam units are the media products and audiences and the pre-production and planning. We've then got the creating a product. So each coursework unit is project-based. So the first one, you would create a media product, a digital product. The creation and use of sound. So we create an advert for a radio, a sound advert, and advertising media. So creating a new print advert for a new headset of headphones. And the second route you might want to take is the diploma. And this is equivalent to 2 A-levels. You would study the units I've just mentioned in terms of for the extended certificate, but in addition to this, you study 6 extra units, totaling 11 in total altogether. So we will look at 3 of these would be examination units, and 8 would be coursework units where you produce work for the portfolio. So if you can see that on the right hand side, we've got very specialist units if you study this route. So we would look at, in terms of projects for each unit, we've got a photography project for one of the units. We design and create a comic and a graphic novel for the other unit. We look at animation. We look at the news and journalism. And the other exam unit that you study as part of the diploma is about social media and globalization. So looking at the effects that social media has in today's world and how it contributes and the links between social media and globalization. In terms of entry requirements, we would say you need a merit at a level 2 IT related course. That could be a creative media course that you've studied, if you've been at this school. If you haven't, you could be a BTEC in digital information technology, or a closely related vocational subject, whether that be like a media production course, or if you've studied GCSEs, it could be a computer science GCSE, grade 4 and above. And we also ask for GCSEs in English and maths, grade 4 to 9. In terms of complementary subjects, because of such a we study a vast range of different projects within each unit, it closely relates to media studies. You've got some business studies, graphics and photography. These would all complement the IT course very well if you study at the school. Where can information technology take you? In terms of post-18 pathways, students studying IT most commonly go onto university or apprenticeships. We've had students study sort of IT related degrees. We've had some specialist, subjects that they've studied, in terms of some students have gone up to study cybersecurity or computer game design that are very specialist to some of the units that we deliver on the course. In terms of career pathways, there's lots of types of job roles there that I've mentioned. So in terms of website or app design, you could be going to business management, network management, looking at the network side of things. In terms of graphic design, the computer game industry, which covers a vast range of different types of jobs that you might want to take on there, advertising and project management. Because all of these types of, especially project management, we build these into each of the units that we deliver. So you will learn about a lot of these different concepts, and you might find that you really like and are passionate about some of these topics that you might want to pursue a career in. What will you study overall? So who owns the media? We look at different corporations, global media companies and how they produce products and that are very successful and tailored and fit for purpose and target the audiences, and we look at what makes them successful and how the ownership works behind these products in terms of making them successful. We look at social media and globalization. So as I mentioned, looking at the relationship between how social media has contributed to globalization and the effects that social media has on us as individuals, but also how big corporations and big companies use social media for their own benefit and for profit. We then look at sort of the advertising industry, the sound, animations, comics, and each unit will specialize in one of these areas. So just to give you a taster really of what we study in lessons, I've put a few activities there just to give you an idea of the things that might introduce you to these topics. So social media usage. People will come into the lessons thinking they know everything about social media, but actually we would start by listing out what social media apps you use. How often do you use them? So getting to think about what is the purpose of using them? Why do we use them? Do we use it every day, every few hours? Do we, and analysing which websites or apps are used more often than others? Why the platforms are used? That could be by individuals, such as communicating with friends and family. It could be by business and organisations to make profit, or it could be by celebrities. And why do celebrities use them? Looking at examples of celebrities posting and using social media. Looking at how they use it to benefit themselves, but also looking at negative publicity that can be generated around different celebrities and how they create sometimes a moral panic in the news and things like that can contribute to news coverage. So that's initially how we would look at social media usage. We then, if we was looking at designing, creating products for each of these units, we would look at pre-production documents. And this is one of your exam units that would look at this, because you would apply these skills in most of the units that you study. So for example, the storyboard I've put there on the screen, you would look at the purpose of the storyboard. What does it aim to achieve? Who does it help? So does it help the camera crew, knowing what shots to include in the film or the commercial or the, or the comic? 4 items that are included on a storyboard, it's asking. So what information is included on a storyboard? And that's a very blank storyboard there. So that's been done on purpose to think about what actually is missing from that storyboard. So we would look at like the scene numbers, for example. We would look at camera shots and camera angles. We would look at timings, see how much timing they would need for each sort of scene or each panel. And this could be covered. We would also look at other pre-production documents such as mood boards, mind maps, looking at the way visualization diagrams are used to draw out and sketch ideas. Could be for a web page or an app, or a page for an app design. The next one I've included is about comics. So what we would study is the panel design and the layout in a comic, and what effects this has on the reader, and why they lay out the comics in this specific way. So if you look at the scene in front of you, you can see there's a fight scene from a Marvel comic, and they've used small panels throughout that page. They're all the same size. There's not a variety there at all. And we look at why that might be the case. What effect does that have on us when we read it? Now, the reason that we should the reasoning behind this is actually smaller panels make the pace of the story faster when people read the comic. It's an action scene there. It's a fight scene. So therefore, it builds suspense and make you read the page a lot quicker, and as you get into the story. If you was using larger panels, that might be used to slow down the pace of a story. So say, for example, you use an emotional scene between 2 characters, or if something was being set at the start of a comic to introduce the setting, the location, to introduce a character maybe, but they would use larger panels in that sense. So in different contexts, different size panels are used, and that's just one of the things that we look at, because you need to apply this knowledge when you create and design your own comic. And the last one, so in terms of creating products, we all need to think of how we build and develop a character, whether that be in a comic, it could be an interactive product that you're making. It could be a radio advert. You might have characters in your product. And the reason how we develop the character, we look at 2 main features. We look at the physical and the non-physical characteristics. And what that means is, so if we was to look at the physical characteristics, that could be something obvious that is seen. So it might be someone's hairstyle. It could be someone's costume or clothing. It could be their build. It could be eye color, for example, just things that describe that character in a physical way, things that we can actually see. Whereas the non-physical side of the character design might be items relating to their personality traits. Are they angry? Are they fearful? Are they a brave character? Are they determined? All of those more subtle things that are shown within a story or within a product that contribute to the characters, the way that we see the character as an audience. It might also include things that superheroes have. For example, a superpower would be a non-physical characteristics, such as Superman can fly. And it's these sorts of issues that we talk about, because both of those is just as important as each other when designing a character for a digital product. And that brings me to the end, Mr. Courtney.
Thank you, Mr. Reid, for that information. And we've had a question come through which is asking me if businesses will help with event planning. And definitely it will help with event planning, especially if you do the diploma, because it'll give you that insight into that sort of last unit where we do a project development and we actually look into how that all works. We put together all of our knowledge. So it definitely helps us in there. And sir, another question just about IT. Are you able to do IT if you have media studies rather than IT GCSE?
Yeah, there's a big overlap with the IT and media studies. It's digital media, so we're using the computers a lot of the time to build and design products. So that because it's very practical and vocational based, it's ideal really. If you've done a media studies or an IT, just as important as each other really, if you're going to study this. So yeah, perfect. It'd be fantastic.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Reid, and thank you. And if you do have any other questions, please do just pop down to see Mr. Reid or myself, and we'll be happy to answer any other questions you may have. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.